So let's play a little game of buy or sell. It would appear from most of the reports, George, that Mike McDaniel is going to keep his job as the head coach of the Miami Dolphins. This is a long season, though, and they're already 0-3. Buy or sell, McDaniel will be the Dolphins head coach at the end of the season.
He's going to get fired. All right. It's either now, later in the season, at the end of the season. He's not making it to next year. So the only question is, do they let him go towards the end of the season here? New York, Carolina, Chargers, Cleveland, Atlanta, Baltimore, bye. Atlanta, Baltimore, Buffalo, Washington going into that bye. And that Washington game, by the way, is in Europe somewhere. So I don't think he survives that. I don't think he's going to survive the bye week. I think it's going to go 1-3 of those games, maybe even lose all 4 of those games. No. And I think they will trade some players away, so they're going to be a worse team than they are now here. No, I'm going to sell this. He does not make it to the end of the season. I think they're going to fire him after week 11, if I had to guess. I think it's the perfect spot because not only is there a bye week, tough schedule beforehand, but then you have New Orleans at home. Good place for a new coach to start.
My thing is this, George, and here's why I am going to buy this. I think he's going to make it through the year and then he's going to be fired. Is because I just think it is rock bottom right now. They're 0-3. So, are they going to lose 3 consecutive games again this season? I don't think so. I think they're going to win 6 games or 7 games, which tells me it's win, loss, 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 win, loss, loss, So I just think they make the change at the end of the year. If they're not going to make it now and they're 0-3, the only thing that I would say to caveat would be is if they lose in their next game. If they lose that next game, then 0-4, yes, I think it happens. I don't think they will, though. So I am going to buy this.
Fantasy Sports Today. Fridays starting at 3 p.m. Eastern. Only on SportsGrid.
We're back right here on Pro Football Today. Tom Vecchio alongside Joe Lisi. We are at halftime of the Dublin-Ireland game between the Vikings and the Steelers. Steelers up 14-6. It should be noted that the Vikings will be getting the ball to start the second half. Steelers got it to begin with. We were looking at some props during halftime. Is there anything that stands out to you? The receiving for the Vikings, I think, is the most interesting area to attack. Justin Jefferson currently has 97. His prop is sitting up at 138. Addison is sitting at 27. His prop is about 46.5. Hockenson, 0. His line is 20.5. And Adam Thielen, 6 receiving yards in his first half. His prop is sitting at 6.5. You're just banking on him to have 1 catch. Joe, anything stand out to you right now?
I'm on Hockenson now. I took him right before the break at 28.5, so I got a bad number right now. But I did take Jefferson early. I would still go to Jefferson. I like him for an anytime touchdown in the second half. And I will say this, defense made a stop. They blocked the kick. It's 14-6. We saw it last year against Aaron Rodgers in the second half. That Minnesota defense made adjustments, right?
Yeah.
And they forced some turnovers. What does Brian Flores do in this game? The more I think about it, the first drive is going to be critical for Minnesota. They go 3 and out. It could be a long day. But if you want to take Minnesota, you might want to take them right now if you are going to take the points and potentially money line at plus 240 to pull this game out just because of the second half adjustments. Maybe Brian Flores does have a read now on what Aaron Rodgers and Arthur Smith want to do for an offensive scheme in the second half. Now's as good a time as any. You're going to know within the first 3 or 4 minutes whether Minnesota is going to be live based off a halftime adjustment, so it's not potentially a bad look.
Yeah, I will say the 39.5 total is appealing to me. If they can come out and score a touchdown, they were moving the ball late in the second quarter. If they score a touchdown, that 39.5 number is going to jump up pretty quickly. So that's where I would be looking for that. We have plenty more to get to around the rest of the NFL, and that starts off with a quarterback change for the New York Giants. They have decided to bench Russell Wilson, and rookie quarterback, first-round pick Jackson Dart will not only be starting this week, but the report is that he will be starting for the rest of the season. This changes things for the Giants in some capacity. They are still sitting at 0-3. They are 6.5-point underdogs today at home, taking on the Los Angeles Chargers. Initial thoughts from the quarterback change before we move into future season outlook.
Yeah, I think it was the right move, but again, I'm going to question why they even went the route of Russell Wilson to begin with when they had Jameis Winston. And I understand that the GM and Brian Dable are on the hot seat to start the year, but you had Jameis Winston, a guy that could throw for 500 yards, love him or hate him, in an offense and put up points, and then you draft Jackson Dart. That was more than good. You could kept Tommy DeVito or get anybody else as a third option. I just don't understand why they bought in so much to Russell Wilson from the get-go. I understand he puts up 450, but he did exactly what he did last year for Pittsburgh. He throws for 400 against the Bengals. He outduels Joe Burrow.
Right.
The final 6 games of the regular season, he averages 176 passing yards per game. Sometimes the tape doesn't lie, right? Well, now, moving forward, the whole organization has to buy in to Jackson Dart's progression. They have to get him ready for year 2. Wins and losses are insignificant right now. Brian Dable will disagree because his job is on the line. But for the organization, Mara, and when you look at this team as a whole, just have Jackson Dart progress from week to week to week so that he is ready in 2026. And as long as he's making the right reads, limiting turnovers, and potentially pulling 1 or 2 games out, that's all you can ask for a Giant fan right now.
You know, I would say the simple answer for me is, starting Dart, like, it can't get any worse.
No.
They're 0-3. They can't get any worse. If you're willing to draft him, you have to be willing to start him. And you have to be, and again, as you said, is it an organizational thing? You have to be willing to go through the ups and downs. A lot of damage with the rebuild. You have to be willing to do that. And if it's not going to be Dable then there next year, then the GM top down has to say, we're starting Dart. This is the plan. We need to develop him. We need to get him through his reads, because learning to read an NFL defense does not happen against the scout team. Does not happen in training camp. He looked really good in preseason.
He did. Here's the problem, Tom. Let's say the Giants were 2-1 right now. Jackson Dart wouldn't be starting, and that's where really Brian Dable and Joe Shine really put this team at a disadvantage, because they said, we're not going to have a job. We have to go with a veteran, whether it be Winston or Russell Wilson. That's the best opportunity for us to get over the hump, make us a potential wild card contender, and we'll see 2026, and we'll still get our paychecks. The fact that they're 0-3 now, they're still trying to save their jobs, but they're doing it the opposite way and saying, we have a young quarterback in Jackson Dart, we'll develop him, we'll have him ready for 2026. And they're trying to sell the organization a bill of goods along with the fan base. They should have started Jackson Dart from week 1. They really should have.
So Russell Wilson on the season, completing under 60% of his passes, 778 through 3 games, looks pretty good. But when you know that 400 plus of them came in just the 1 game, we're realizing what we got from Russell Wilson, which is nearly half of last year. We got it in week 1 and week 3. When it's all said and done, the interceptions have been there for him. Now, when it comes to the Giants' path moving forward, there were some reports earlier this week that Russell Wilson may be sought after somewhat during the trade deadline. A lot of people have been talking about Jameis shipping him to the Bengals, as they just need a quarterback to throw the ball. I think they need to move Russell Wilson out. Even though he says he does not want to be moved, you got to get back an asset if you can.
Oh, you do. Does he go to a team like the Saints? Where does he go? I mean, I don't know. I mean, if you're asking me if I'm the Bengals, who would I want, Russell Wilson or Jameis? I would take Jameis because he gives you the best opportunity to get the football to Higgins and Chase. Yeah. That's all I want. I want a distributor. I want a point guard to get my playmakers to football, especially if we can eke into the playoffs. We could steal 1 or 2 games, unless you tell me, hey, give me a quarterback that can get me to the playoffs. Burrow might be ready by then. I would still take Jameis Winston. And this is what you see is what you get out of Russell Wilson. He's not going to run the football the way he did in Seattle. He's going to give you a game where he maybe throws for 300 yards, but then he's going to give you the game where he throws a $112 and throws 5 passes out of the end zone like he did in the red zone. I mean, that's where Russell Wilson is as a starting quarterback right now. And I don't see another option. I still think what we saw out of Carson Wentz in 1.5 is still much better than what Russell Wilson could give you.
It really is. And frankly, I almost would say the Giants would have a better record if they just went with Jameis.
I agree.
If they had just started Jameis and, maybe not 2 wins, but 1 win. You give them 1 win with Jameis, I think he powers you to 1. The rest of the schedule for the Giants is brutal. If we can keep that graphic up, the upcoming stretch, okay, you get the Chargers this week, he's making his first start. Against the Saints, okay, he could show you something against that. But Eagles, Denver, 49ers, the Bears, okay, easy, and then the Packers. It is not an easy go for Dart and the rest of the offense. And it's not only to say that, we also know that Tyrone Tracy is out for multiple weeks with a shoulder, and Cam Scatterbo is going to be starting and he played well against the Chiefs. He had 10 for 60 and a rushing touchdown. He also had six catches for 60 yards in the air.
He led all of the receivers. I mean, it's great that Cam Scatterbo could catch the football, did it at Arizona State. But again, I want to see Malik Neighbors as the pure number one each and every week. Well, I'm trying to think of, because again, I don't think the fan base will just accept Jackson Dart's progression. What do they realistically have to get to? 8 wins, maybe? I mean, they would have to be an 8 or 9 win football team for Dable to come back next year.
It has to be. We've seen too much of the same thing, and it's almost like you want a clean break. Bring in a new coach and be like, whatever happened last year with Dart doesn't matter. We have a new coach. This is our franchise QB. You're going to have a high draft pick. Protect him. Get some good offensive linemen. You have enough offensive weapons around him. You just need to protect Jackson Dart at a certain point. Draft the offensive lineman when you have a top 5 pick or whatever it's going to be for the Giants. We're coming up against the break. We will break down this game next. The Chargers are on fire. They're looking to go to 4-0. We have Justin Herbert playing at an MVP level. More of that right after this. Pro Football Today returns on SportsGrid right after this.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Well, Shadur, which quarterbacks are you talking about? Because there's some bad quarterback play out there, but the dude who can't beat Dylan Gabriel out for a job and can't beat Joe Flacco out for a job certainly can't lay claim to being better than any other quarterback in the league.
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
That's a lot for a closer. 10. You're not a closer anymore if you blow 10 games. I mean, my goodness. That's
he's mentally broken too. Like, it's to the point where like Dodger fans aren't even mad at him; they're more mad at the Dodgers for putting him out there.
Putting him in.
Right? It's more so.
Right.
Yeah, it's like, guys, like, he's done.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Major League Baseball has decided it is time to put balls and strikes not just in the hands of the umpires, but also the robot umpires, as they say. The ABS system is now officially in place starting next season. Now, keep in mind, they're not just throwing this out there. They have used this at the Arizona Fall League, and they've also used it at different levels of the minor leagues as well.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
We are back right here on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Tom Vecchio alongside Joe Lisi. We are continuing to break down this Chargers-Giants game, 1 p.m. Eastern start. Chargers off to a blazing 3-0 start. It's not just 3-0. They are 3-0. All wins against divisional opponents. Against the Chiefs in Brazil in Week 1, against the Raiders in Week 2, and then against the Broncos last week. Great start from them. Justin Herbert is playing at a near MVP level or an MVP level. Their win total sitting at 9.5. They are favorites now to win the AFC West. One of the emerging favorites to win the AFC overall, and the Super Bowl odds for them are sitting at 14-1. Initial takeaways from the Chargers' performance to start the season. It should be noted that Najee Harris is done for the year with an Achilles injury, and that rookie Omarion Hampton is set to take the majority of the work in the backfield for them.
Yeah, even when Najee was there, they went with Omarion Hampton as somebody who backed Najee props the first couple of weeks. I understand he had the eye injury. Now he's got the Achilles. He's a non-factor. But they utilized Omarion Hampton as the workhorse for the first 3 weeks of the regular season. Does it continue today? We'll see. But again, Justin Herbert in this offense right now look to be heaven. He's distributing the football. Keenan Allen looks like he just graduated Cal. I mean, all he does is hit the end zone and blow through his props. He has a great quarterback to wide receiver relationship with Justin Herbert, even though Ladd McConkey's putting up stats and Quentin Johnson could actually catch the football again. In a go-to spot, I feel like Keenan Allen is always the guy. So if we're looking at anytime touchdown against the secondary that is giving up 252 passing yards per game right now in the New York Giants, I still like Keenan Allen in this offense. So again, I'm debating whether I'm jumping on this total or not. I'm just debating on, the Chargers would be key. Harbaugh going in and trying to win this game 20-10 or 20-3. Jump out to a lead. Let's force the pressure on Jackson Dart. If we can run it, then we'll just get out of Dodge with a victory, a road win. You got a West Coast team coming to the East Coast. That's always a cause of concern. But, I still lean to the over here that, somehow, some way we could blow through this. Neighbors breaks out, and maybe we get a Keenan Allen performance, or maybe we take them both through the totals and a touchdown today.
Yeah, there's a lot that I like in this game, surprisingly. We should start giving out some of our favorite props, but for me, it's going to be Omarion Hampton over 16.5 rushing attempts. When it comes to the Chargers' backfield, there's just no one to threaten him for work. Hassan Haskins and Kamani Vidal are just non-factors. They should not be threatening his usage in any capacity, and you drafted Hampton for a reason, and now it's time to give him the ball. And it's good to see that after Harris got hurt last week, Hampton handled all of the running back touches for the Chargers. He is their guy, over 16.5 rushing attempts. Also, to your point with the Giants' passing game, we have seen at times this year and dating back to last year that there were moments pregame, postgame, throughout the week that Malik Neighbors said something along the lines like, I can't throw the ball to myself, where, you can't be going a first half, as we saw last week for their game against the Chiefs. You can't be having a first half with your number one wide receiver like Malik Neighbors having one target and no catches. That is unacceptable. So, to that point, Jackson Dart will start his connection with Malik Neighbors on the first drive. So Neighbors to catch a pass on the first drive is minus 105. I absolutely love it. Love that. That is the connection for the future of the Giants franchise. It is Dart, Neighbors, and you want to throw in a little Cam Scatterbo in there? Absolutely.
Yeah, Neighbors has a 61.5. I think you could see a similar performance to what we saw with Russell Wilson in Dallas. He has that type of capability, and I understand this secondary for L.A. is only giving up about $1.82 per game. They've limited, the long throws. Everything's been short to intermediate. They force you to methodically work down the field, and then obviously red zone defense has been pretty good, above average this year. I just think Jackson Dart is the type of playmaker where he's going to challenge you. Love him or hate him, he's going to have some turnovers, but he gives you the best option to push the football down the field. The rushing attack for the New York Giants is averaging 96 yards on the ground per game, but again, look for L.A. to take that away today and force the game on Dart. If he's up to par, he could have a pretty big performance. Do I want to buy into the 6.5 and all the props on the Giants? Not so much. I would buy in, though, to Neighbors. Anytime touchdown is plus 180. 61.5, I think can get to 80, 90 if Dart's on fire.
I will say the Dart Rookie of the Year odds are relatively interesting because we have Hampton, who's one of the favorites right now. Dart is set to take the helm. Dart's odds are only going to get shorter if he continues to put up good games. Yeah. And, I want to say it's not necessarily to do with the Giants winning games, but if they are in a spot where he's able to put up numbers, because Cam Ward isn't off to a great start, there's really no other rookie quarterback. It really comes down to Hampton, Genty, Tet McMillan, Tyler Warren, and Emeka Buka, who is the favorite as of now. So Rookie of the Year odds are interesting, and there's two rookies that are in the race between Hampton and Dart. Any thoughts on that? Because if you want to buy into Dart, it would be now. The number has already changed since he was announced as a starter, but it would be before he actually starts putting up performances.
He would have to get string together wins, though, too. That would
You
be
think?
Yeah, I mean, Bo Nix was in the mix for the most part because they were putting up numbers and winning games, and they
Has
would
to be both.
right. And so Dart could put up numbers, but I think he's in the same situation as Cam Ward. Unless the team has ultimate success, you can't buy in. Jaden Daniels, too. Think of that. You know, Jaden Daniels leads the team to the NFC Championship. That type of progression from week to week to week. I'll throw a name out, and I understand Hampton and Genty are getting all, but if Quinshon Judkins now all of a sudden rushes for like 1,400 yards, we don't know what's going to happen big picture. If they tack a number on him, he was 18-1 before the suspension or before they didn't sign him. You might get pretty good value there, especially if they're run heavy today against Detroit.
Yeah, and it should be noted when it comes to Judkins that they are, like, he's handling nearly all of the touches. Like, Samson's not playing a part. Jerome Ford's not playing a part when it comes to Cleveland. Now, things may change if, you know, they have a quarterback change, whatever it might be. So there's a lot up in the air for the Browns, but we will get to that game in a little bit. They are 9.5-point dogs taking on Detroit. So a lot of rookies in a spot to continue to make performances. Emeka Buka, who we will talk about later, is also in a spot to continue to contribute because Mike Evans is out for the Buccaneers. Chris Godwin is coming back. So players coming back on different teams changes futures markets for their teammates, even though Emeka Buka or Tyler Warren may not put up as big numbers. It's not really their fault, and all that needs to be considered. So a whole lot going on for that. We will continue to break down these markets along with the other games coming up. We have a couple guests coming up as of later. Dr. David Chow. We also have Adam Kaplan stopping by to give us their thoughts around various storylines across the league. So between our best bets, between some of the props that we like, there is a whole lot more to break down. As I said, Malik Neighbors to catch a pass on the first drive, and Amari Hampton over 16.5 rushing attempts for that game. Stay tuned right here. Pro Football Today will be back after this right here on SportsGrid.
That's a lot for a closer. 10. You're not a closer anymore if you blow 10 games. I mean, my goodness. That's
he's mentally broken too. Like, it's to the point where, like, Dodger fans aren't even mad at him; they're more mad at the Dodgers for putting him out there.
Putting him in,
right? It's more so.
Right.
Yeah, it's like, guys, like, he's done.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
It's put up a shut-up time for some of these teams that have scheduled nothing but cupcakes, Donnie, to start the season without truly being tested. Are you, right, Miami, you know, they've played ranked teams over and over and over and just beat Florida as well. So, you know, some of these teams like Penn State, what are we going to get from them?
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Major League Baseball has decided it is time to put balls and strikes not just in the hands of the umpires, but also the robot umpires, as they say. The ABS system is now officially in place starting next season. Now, keep in mind, they're not just throwing this out there. They have used this at the Arizona Fall League, and they've also used it at different levels of the minor leagues as well.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Everything changed at that point. They went and got Jonquil Jones, and they really had that triple threat monster team. That second year they lost in the WNBA Finals, 3-1 against the Las Vegas Aces. Year 3, they finally get over the top hump. And you can question whether they should have won the title with that foul call late in Game 5 that sent Breanna Stewart to the foul line.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
We're back right here, Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. We have Vikings Steelers continuing to go underway. The Vikings just picked up a first down. We saw Carson Wentz flexing his hand, flexing his wrist a little bit over these past couple of plays, so keep that in mind if you're betting it. His props continue to move. He did just pick up a first down to Adam Thielen. They have the ball on the 22-yard line and have a 1st and 10. As we were discussing with Omarion Hampton and Jackson Dart and various other rookies, there's a dynamic Rookie of the Year race, rookie award market taking place. And, really one of the most interesting ones to me would be Genty and how much his number has changed. And I don't want to say it's not his fault, but the Raiders' offensive line is terrible. And the differential in yards that we see from Ashton Genty between yards and yards before contact and yards after contact, all these sorts of, they're giving him nothing. He is getting hit constantly behind the line of scrimmage, multiple yards behind the line of scrimmage. And frankly, at this point, I think he's essentially out of the race. And this is partly due to Emeka Egbuka having a great year, Tyler Warren putting up big numbers. Ted McMillan, I think, is maybe the most talented player overall in the rookie class. He's certainly very strong. But now Omarion Hampton is set for a featured role in the Chargers offense. And when you have a quarterback playing at an MVP level, as they have with Justin Herbert, Hampton's success will only continue to go up.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you have a veteran offensive line opening up holes, they're balanced. You have an above-average quarterback. I'll put Justin Herbert in that category of elite when he starts to win playoff games, but above average puts up numbers. And Omarion Hampton, was a workhorse in North Carolina. Averaged well over 4.5 yards per carry, a home run type of hitter. They're not afraid to feed him time and time again. So if you're looking at the running backs right now, and we're looking at Genty, and we're looking at that offensive identity with Pete Carroll, it isn't Boise State. You're not playing Coastal Carolina and ripping off 300 and 400-yard performances. This is a different animal. The offensive line is not as consistent for Las Vegas as it's been for the L.A. Chargers. I think that was evident in their road win just a couple of weeks ago as well. But again, that doesn't mean that, Genty can't put up numbers. Is it going to be worthy, though, Tom, of Rookie of the Year numbers without also the team success? I think unless he does 1,400 yards and the team, is at least 5 or 6 and 11 overall, then maybe he can get it. But that's it. You're asking so much right now because of the emergence of Hampton that I can't buy into Genty right now.
Yeah, and I would say the same thing where the two favorites right now between Emeka Egbuka and Tyler Warren, they are putting up stats, and their teams are also having success.
Right.
And, it's fair to say that both of those teams are looking good as of now to win their respective divisions. Emeka Egbuka and the Bucs in the NFC South, and Tyler Warren with the Colts in the AFC South. They are both looking good right now. There's no doubt about it, and frankly, that usage should only continue. So when we're looking at the Rookie of the Year market overall, if we have those odds still, it's interesting to take a Genty when he was the favorite coming into the season, 253 to 1 or so, and he's dropped so far. But I would continue to buy in on a Ted McMillan. And we talked about Junkins before. The volume of touches he should see is very, very enticing. I would not go anywhere near Cam Ward. And the fact that Jackson Dart's number has dropped that far, he's at 650 and hasn't even played a game yet. If you don't have him pre-flop, if you don't have him at 15 or 20 to 1 where he was earlier this week, I would not be betting into him at this point.
No, not at all. And again, it's similar. His situation, Dart, is similar to what Caleb Williams had with Eberflus. Dead man walking, right? He has to win games in order for the coach to save his job. But is the coach going to give him the autonomy or open up the offense to really put up these type of numbers? Or is he going to say, you know what? We want to let's say they win today, which is going to be a tall order, but let's say they win. Oh, in game number 2, we're just going to be a game manager. Let's try and eke out 2 wins, and let's try to get back to 5. That is the problem when you have a lamed-up type of head coach that doesn't have the best interest of the quarterback. He's trying to save his job and won't open up the offense. They should have did this, I think, from the get-go right now. And again, we'll see how it plays out. Is Dart the type of player that could put up numbers? He is. But he has to have the offensive play column to go around him as well,
right?
To open up the offense to his strengths as opposed to limiting him the way we saw that offense play against Kansas City last week.
And betting into award markets for player awards, such as Rookie of the Year, it can be very volatile. And again, I will continue to speak highly of Ted McMillan just because I think he's there from a skill perspective. But, that also depends on the development of Bryce Young.
Absolutely.
Right? And he could be the most talented receiver. We could all agree with that. But if the development of Bryce Young and the team success isn't there, then it doesn't matter how high I am or how physically gifted Ted McMillan is. He may never have the yards. He may never have the stats to back it up.
And think about this. You look at the box score last week, 30-0. You're like, oh, they dominate. Bryce Young, 112 passing yards. You can't have those type of performances. Again, Dave Canales is another head coach. He waits until they're behind to give the football to Bryce Young.
As we have a turnover in the Steelers-Vikings game, we will recap that as we're coming up against the break, but a little Wentz interception puts the Steelers in scoring position to extend their 14-6 lead. Stay tuned. More right here on Pro Football Today when we're back.
That's a lot for a closer. 10. You're not a closer anymore if you blow 10 games. I mean, my goodness. That's
he's mentally broken too. Like, it's to the point where, like, Dodger fans aren't even mad at him. They're more mad at the Dodgers for putting him out there.
Putting him in.
Right? It's more so.
Right.
Yeah, it's like, guys, like, he's done.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
To put up a shut-up time for some of these teams that have scheduled nothing but cupcakes, Donnie, to start the season without truly being tested. Are you, right, Miami, they've played ranked teams over and over and over and just beat Florida as well. So, some of these teams like Penn State, what are we going to get from them?
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Major League Baseball has decided it is time to put balls and strikes not just in the hands of the umpires, but also the robot umpires, as they say. The ABS system is now officially in place starting next season. Now, keep in mind, they're not just throwing this out there. They have used this at the Arizona Fall League, and they've also used it at different levels of the minor leagues as well.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Everything changed at that point. They went and got Jonquel Jones, and they really had that triple threat monster team. That second year they lost in the WNBA Finals, 3-1 against the Las Vegas Aces. Year 3, they finally get over the top hump. You can question whether they should have won the title with that foul call late in Game 5 that sent Breanna Stewart to the foul line.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
We're back, Pro Football Today, right here on SportsGrid. My name is Tom Vecchio alongside Joe Lisi. We're continuing to break down NFL Week 4. We've gone through two of the biggest games on the slate, the Ravens and the Chiefs. We broke that game down. Sunday Night Football between the Packers and the Cowboys. We broke that game down. Now let's turn to another big game, the Philadelphia Eagles visiting the Tampa Bay Bucks. And although the most unbiased man in sports history is not here, I am filling in for him. We will break this game down in the most unbiased way possible. We are expecting at least a good amount of scoring in this game. It is a 3.5-point spread in favor of the road Eagles. Total sitting at 44.5. Both these teams are dealing with, a variety of different storylines to start the season. And for the Bucs, it has been injuries on their offensive line, injuries now with Mike Evans, injuries that, we now expected to see Chris Godwin make his season debut. For the Eagles, their offense was somewhat inept to start the year, at least their passing offense. Then, all of a sudden, they come out last week against the Rams after being down. It was a 26-7 at one point, and they come out and they are flying on offense, getting A.J. Brown the ball. He finally breaks out. I will say both teams, they are 1-2 to the over this season. They're both 2-1 against the spread. They're both 3-0 when it comes to their record overall. Something has to give in this game, Joe, and I will say strictly from a health perspective, I think the Eagles have the clear advantage.
Yeah, and when they played last year, it was one of the losses for the Philadelphia Eagles. A.J. Brown did not play in that game. Tampa Bay has knocked them off in back-to-back years. 1 year in the playoffs, last year in the regular season, both in Tampa, right? So you could look at this game two ways. Does the Eagles have a bitter taste in their mouth and want to prove that they're the best team in the NFL, or does Tampa Bay have their number and just match up very well against the Eagles personnel? I will say, you look at Tampa Bay, they just find ways to win, and that's a testament to Baker and a testament to Todd Bowles, we now know why they went after Emeka Egbuka in the draft. It seemed like a head-scratcher, but when Godwin isn't 100% and just coming back now, when Evans breaks down every year with a hamstring, you know why they went with McMillan and Egbuka in back-to-back years. But that performance in the second half still showcased why this defense for Philadelphia is still one of the best in the league. Have they showcased it for 4 quarters through the first 3 weeks of the regular season? No. But again, on the road in this spot where they're healthy, I think they step up. I don't know if it is as high scoring as we've seen in back-to-back years where they blow through the totals, but I think the Eagles can cover this game. I think they can contain Baker. I think that Bucky Irvin will have a tough time running the football, especially against that front seven, and I think they make a statement and win the ball game convincingly.
Okay, and it also should be noted that Tristan Wirfs is expected to play for the Bucs.
Yeah, that's a huge benefit.
It's a huge benefit, and listen, the offensive line for the Bucs has been terrible. The injuries, rotating players in and out has been an issue for them, and we saw it. The primetime game, the comeback win against the Texans, a lot of issues. Baker taking hits. He has to scramble. All of that could be on full display again today because if the Eagles are playing from out in front, that front seven against that front seven can get done against any team, but against a depleted offensive line such as the Bucs have, this is where we will see the Eagles show full offense. And I want to say that I really want to see the Eagles come out in a pass-centric offense. You look to the Bucs, at least to start the year. Bucs right now are number 1 in EPA per rush allowed on defense. They are the best in the league, at least in that stat, not in terms of yards per game. That's where we see the Browns. But Saquon's been relatively quiet to start the year. He's gone for 8 for 60 in the opener, 4 for 24 and 4 for 24 in receiving, 22 of 88 in week 2, and then 18 of 46 on the ground last week. So all things considered, he's yet to break 90 yards. And now he's going up against one of the best rush defenses in the league. Can the Eagles come out and push the ball on offense via the passing game to start?
They're going to have to. Again, I think sometimes you got to throw in order to run, right? You know, you can't just line up just because you have the best running back in the NFL and say we want to run the football. Teams will take that away. I think the one thing when you look at just Saquon's numbers, big picture, I do feel they're not giving him as many carries, for the most part, to spell him for a playoff run and another Super Bowl potential championship. I think they're doing the right thing. But what you saw basically in the second half for Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, and Devontae Smith is what you want to see from the start of the game to the end. And that doesn't mean you have to throw it 50 times a game. But you want to see the aggressiveness on first and second down, throw the football. That can still open up the rushing attack in the second half for Saquon Barkley. And to your point, Tampa Bay is very good at taking away the run. Can they expose the secondary? I think they can. I do feel, even though it's an A.J. Brown performance last week where he took the fourth quarter over, I do feel Devontae Smith gets through his total today. 51.5. I think he could be the go-to guy, 70, 80 yards in this matchup, and that'll open up everything underneath for all the secondary options. But I feel it is Smith more than A.J. Brown. I mean, 194.5 today for Jalen Hurts? That's a light number, Tom. That's a huge. He could go 225, 250 today.
Easily. And this game not only has impact on the team's records, but this will impact the odds as we see for the NFC Championship odds overall. I will say, if I agree with you, I think the Eagles win today. I do think they cover today. I just want to put that there. If they were to lose today, I don't think their odds are going to take a hit. No. I think the odds are going to stay where they are. But as we've alluded to, the Bucs are a popular underdog kind of sleeper team outside of that first tier where you could be looking. Look at that. The Bucs are in a spot to yet again win the division, which means they have home field in the playoffs, yet they're sitting at 7th when it comes to the NFC Championship odds. So I will say, if you do like the Bucs, if they lose today, those odds are probably going to get a little bit longer. You can kind of wait to buy into them.
Right, yeah, absolutely. Again, if they do win and strike the upset, again, they're going to be potentially maybe 17, 16-1. They're not going to be, and tell me if I'm wrong, they're not going to be 10-1. They just don't get that type of, it's the NFC South. We see it's a black and blue division. They always have injuries, and they just never step up. But they're the team that has gone toe-to-toe. Right. They knocked off the Eagles, and Baker has 2 playoff key wins under his belt.
I also think it's the kind of the risk profile for the Eagles, 49ers, Lions.
Right.
That the books are never going to move those numbers significantly. So if we have those odds, if you flash them again.
But they have Washington with Jaden Daniels, and it's just crazy.
The NFC odds, if we have those again, like that top tier will always be in that same spot for the Eagles, Lions, 49ers, whatever that combination is. And then you're always going to have the Commanders. Now, it always comes down to, do the Commanders have a playoff game? They're going to be on the road if they don't win the division, et cetera, et cetera. But seeing a team like the Bucs that far down, knowing you're getting a home playoff game to start, is absolutely important and something that we should be willing to buy into.
No, absolutely.
There are things that are changing in this Pittsburgh Vikings game. We did just see the Steelers punched through another touchdown with Kenny Gainwell, who got the start because Jalen Warren was ruled out prior to pregame. So he is now 11 for 57 on the ground with 2 touchdowns. And the Vikings just had a long kickoff return, which was called back due to a holding penalty. So it's 21-6 right now. The live line for this game has jumped up to 12.5 in favor of the Steelers, and the total is still sitting at 38. So a long kickoff return called back due to holding on the Vikings changes things there. Any other final thoughts when it comes to Eagles, Bucs?
I just think that, again, if the Eagles, if you take the resume this year and it was the Chiefs, we would still be saying the Eagles are the Chiefs are the best team in football. They have to answer the Eagles every week. They were lucky to win against the Rams, but they find ways to win.
It's true.
Right? They went into Arrowhead a couple weeks ago and grinded out a victory, and I know Jalen Hurts only threw for 100 yards, but again, they found a way to win. They're undefeated. That's all you can ask for. And when they have to turn it on, they are as loaded as any team in the NFL, and still buy into Jalen Hurts. He is a Super Bowl winner. He's an MVP candidate, and I buy into this defense big picture that they would be the only team that I could say at the start of the year prior to kicking off in week 1 that I would buy into to potentially win an NFC championship and Super Bowl.
I would agree with that. I would also like to see their offense not have to say we need to turn it on. Right, because it's great to make halftime adjustments. It's great to be able to do that.
Right.
But let's step on the gas a little bit earlier, and then we can kind of experiment with the offense and take things smoothly instead of saying, hang on, we got to turn it on. It's good to know you can, but just doing that from the start is great. We have many more games to get to. A whole lot across the league. We're coming up against a break right now. We have guests coming up in the 12 o'clock hour between 12 and 1. We'll have them on, continue to break things down. We'll continue to give our best bets, props that we like, more right here on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid.
That's a lot for a closer. 10. That's you're not a closer anymore if you blow 10 games. I mean, my goodness. That's
he's mentally broken too. Like, it's to the point where Dodger fans aren't even mad at him; they're more mad at the Dodgers for putting him out there.
Putting him in.
Right? It's more so. Yeah, it's like, guys, he's done.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
To put up a shut-up time for some of these teams that have scheduled nothing but cupcakes, Donnie, to start the season without truly being tested. Are you, Miami, they've played ranked teams over and over and over and just beat Florida as well. So, some of these teams like Penn State, what are we going to get from them?
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Major League Baseball has decided it is time to put balls and strikes not just in the hands of the umpires, but also the robot umpires, as they say. The ABS system is now officially in place starting next season. Now, keep in mind, they're not just throwing this out there. They have used this at the Arizona Fall League, and they've also used it at different levels of the minor leagues as well.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Everything changed at that point. They went and got Jonquel Jones, and they really had that triple threat monster team. That second year they lost in the WNBA Finals, 3-1 against the Las Vegas Aces. Year 3, they finally get over the top hump. You can question whether they should have won the title with that foul call late in Game 5 that sent Breanna Stewart to the foul line.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
We're back right here on SportsGrid. Pro Football Today. Tom Vecchio and Joe Lisi breaking down all the games. We're going to get to a few in this segment, so let's just jump right into it. The Bills taking on the Saints. Saints coming off a disaster performance. Bills coming off of yet another win. The Bills are now 14.5-point favorites. This line was 15.5. It was 16.5. It's come crashing down just a little bit. The total is still sitting at 48.5. This really all revolves around Josh Allen and the great level of play that he continues to put up. However, from a prop perspective and a game perspective, this game's actually relatively tough because we don't know where the ball's going at times on the Bills.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's absolutely, ridiculous. We talked about it in the break. You have the Buffalo Bills with a 13-home game winning streak. They're 3-0 on the year, Tom. They won the 3 games this year by an average margin of 10.3 points per game, right? The only game they were really pushed was basically week 1 against the Baltimore Ravens, and nowhere near is this offense with New Orleans anywhere close to what the Ravens have. But the 13-game winning streak, they've won those 13 games by an average margin of 15.3 points per game. Right? So where are we on the spread? 16.5 we're out there.
Yeah.
Now we're basically right on the number depending upon the last 13 home wins for the Buffalo Bills, which is amazing when you just look at the statistics. Obviously, I can only look to Buffalo here. Prop-wise, I think it's Josh Allen through the air. Could he get through his number in one half is the question.
Yeah, I mean,
could he because the New Orleans Saints defense is giving up 229 passing yards per game. They're giving up a $103 on the ground. We know about the rushing attack with Cook and Ty Johnson and sweet baby Ray Davis. I have a tough time backing anybody but Cook in that type of situation. But again, it's got to be Josh Allen. When Josh Allen's on at home, they just blow through these numbers and they bury teams. So I can only look Josh Allen passing attack. I think he could get over his total, but again, you have to look at it in a one-half type of situation because do they pull the starters after they're dominating?
I think so. I like Keon Coleman under 3.5 receptions. It's just too spread out. Him, Khalil Shakir. Again, you mix in Ty Johnson, Dalton Kincaid, Palmer, you name it. There's just too many options. So I like Keon Coleman under 3.5. I also don't mind going to Chris Olave over 5.5 receptions. He comes in with 13, 10, and 14 targets over the past 3 weeks, the first 3 weeks of the season, just because they're passing the ball at such a high volume. Next up, we got Bears taking on the Raiders. Bears coming off a big win over the Cowboys last week. Raiders coming off a loss when they were taking on the Commanders. This game is nearly a coin flip across the board. We saw Caleb Williams put up the type of performance that you expected to see from a number 1 overall pick, especially with the addition of Ben Johnson in the offseason. This game's kind of all over the place to me, but there's no reason that we shouldn't be seeing someone like Jacoby Myers have success against this defense, the Bears defense, that is. And the same thing can be said on the other side with Roma Dunze putting up big performances. But I think this game's a pure coin flip. I don't mind taking the points with the Bears if that's where you have them.
So I'm going the other way.
Okay.
So I'll tell you, last performance for Caleb on the road, they get blown out by Detroit.
Yeah.
Coaching advantage, obviously, Pete Carroll over Ben Johnson, just a better Super Bowl winner and head coach. And as he has his teams prepared, and again, veteran quarterback in Geno Smith, can they throw it and attack the secondary will be the main question. We did see Dak Prescott have some success. CD Lamb goes down in this ball game. I don't like the total so much, but I like Brock Bowers. I like Jacoby Myers. Hasn't hit the end zone in a couple of weeks, I believe. I think he could be live today. I do like Las Vegas as a really good side. It's one of the favorites that I actually like one of the most today.
Okay.
The Eagles and the Raiders are two of my favorite sides from just a favorite perspective. I like some other dogs throughout the day, but I don't want to buy into the rushing attack for Las Vegas. I want to do it with Geno, old man Geno, and Brock Bowers today.
All right, so a little bit on different sides on that one. It is a coin flip game. I do think the Raiders will have plenty of success in the air when it's all said and done. And then speaking of the Lions, as you mentioned, they just played the Bears a couple of weeks ago. Lions now taking on the Browns, 9.5-point favorites. The Lions sit right now. The league's best rush defense in the Browns taking on a dynamic rushing offense from the Lions with two viable running backs between David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. It is 9.5 is a 44.5 total. We have to note that the Browns are traveling to London for next week's game after this, so it's just something to keep in mind. I'm not saying it's a look-ahead spot. The Lions obviously coming off a win on Monday night against the Ravens last week. Any thoughts on this game?
I really like this game. I'm going to take the Browns. And, again, I understand that offense is clicking in back-to-back weeks against Baltimore and Chicago. But nowhere near is Chicago and Baltimore's rush defense anywhere near what the Cleveland Browns possess. And I think that's the matchup when you see Cleveland make second-half adjustments and shut down Green Bay and not just cover, but win that game, right? I shocked a lot of people. I think this is a sneaky good Browns defense. And, again, I believe they're good enough to, like, even if they lose, I'd be shocked if they get blown out in this matchup. I really would. Double-digit victory by the Detroit Lions, I don't see it. I think it does trend to the under. I think it's a heavy Quinshon Judkins day. I did take him as numbers, I believe, 58.5. I altered them for 70+. I just think the Browns are going to go in there. And let's not forget, they shut down Joe Burrow. They limited Jordan Love at home. Now, granted, this is a road matchup. But, again, if they can get to Jared Goff early and put him into long third downs, they could generate a pass rush. And I think that's the matchup. Try and win it 21-17. I lean to the under, but I like Judkins in the rushing attack today.
Right, and when it comes to the Browns, their game plan can't be, let's turn this into a shootout.
No.
We'll beat the Lions 31-28. If they win this game and or cover, it's going to be low scoring.
I agree, yeah. And they're going to, I believe, hey, we'll take our shots. We'll play. We know we can play man-to-man on the outside. Can we get to Jared Goff in passing situations? All comes down to Montgomery and Gibbs. If they're 5 yards, 6 yards, it's over. They're going to get blown out in this matchup.
I will say I really do like Jerry Jeudy over 49.5 receiving yards in this game. He's due for a bit of a bounce back. If they're playing from behind, even if it's just by a touchdown, they're going to have to pass the ball. I still think he should be that main option in that passing offense. So Jerry Jeudy over 49.5 receiving yards is something that I like. We are coming up against the break. We have an injury in the Steelers-Viking games right now. The Steelers are still up 21-6. They have the ball on offense, but it's one of their receivers that's a little bit dinged up. We will take note of that. We can recap that game and reset. Look at the props for that, whatever it might be. We have Calvin Austin as a player that's taking a knee, being looked at by trainers. We have plenty of other games to get to on the rest of the show. We have some of our favorite props coming up. We have two guests coming up in the 12 o'clock hour. We have our best bets. And then before we know it, it'll be 1 o'clock and the games will be kicking off. So stay tuned right here on SportsGrid. Joe, any thoughts on your looking on this game as we're coming up against the break? Any other things you want to jump in for Steelers-Vikings?
I would just say, again, you got to look at the passing props as this game progresses. Time elapsed, if they're going to get back into it, Justin Jefferson, Hawkinson, and Wentz have to go through their totals.
Okay. Wentz's number has dropped to 239. It was up in the 270s, 280s. Big discrepancy for Wentz. He is also dealing potentially hand injury. Stay tuned right here on SportsGrid.
That's a lot for a closer. 10. You're not a closer anymore if you blow 10 games. I mean, my goodness. That's
he's mentally broken too. Like, it's to the point where, like, Dodger fans aren't even mad at him. They're more mad at the Dodgers for putting him out there.
Putting him in.
Right? It's more so. Yeah, it's like, guys, like, he's done.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
To put up a shut-up time for some of these teams that have scheduled nothing but cupcakes, Donnie, to start the season without truly being tested. Are you, right, Miami, they've played ranked teams over and over and over and just beat Florida as well. So, some of these teams like Penn State, what are we going to get from them?
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Major League Baseball has decided it is time to put balls and strikes not just in the hands of the umpires, but also the robot umpires, as they say. The ABS system is now officially in place starting next season. Now, keep in mind, they're not just throwing this out there. They have used this at the Arizona Fall League, and they've also used it at different levels of the minor leagues as well.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Everything changed at that point. They went and got Jonquel Jones, and they really had that triple threat monster team. That second year they lost in the WNBA Finals, 3-1 against the Las Vegas Aces. Year 3, they finally get over the top hump. And you can question whether they should have won the title with that foul call late in Game 5 that sent Breanna Stewart to the foul line.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
We are back right here on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. My name is Tom Vecchio alongside Joe Lisi, and it's now time to get to the Sunday Morning Crunch. Sunday Morning Crunch, time for some of our favorite player props, a three-pick from each of us this week. Joe, what do you got?
So I'm going to start with Michael Penix. Terrible performance. He throws 2 picks last week in the blowout loss to Carolina. He's playing a Washington defense that I think could be exposed. They're at home. They're laying 2.5. I took him through his total today. I think he can get to 225. 250 plus. I think they have to push a little bit of tempo, even though Marcus Mariota put up some points against Las Vegas. They're on the road here. I like Penix through his number today, so we'll see if he can get it. 225 is as high as I went earlier. I think he could potentially in-game get to 250. I told you I'm on Quinshon Judkins. I think Judkins is going to be the catalyst for the Cleveland Browns offense. That'll take the pressure off of Joe Flacco. I altered him as high as 70-plus in this game. Again, I think they're going to test Detroit. You want to play bully ball? We'll play bully ball. We'll try and stop Quinshon Judkins. And then Devontae Smith, for me, 51.5. I took him as high as 80 in this matchup against Tampa Bay. I know A.J. Brown is back, but I think they'll utilize him more as a decoy. Devontae Smith steps up with a huge performance in Tampa.
All right, let's get to my 3-pack for Sunday Morning Crunch. Let's get to Keon Coleman, as I said, under 3.5 receptions. And this has a lot to do with the game script overall. The Bills are 14.5, 15.5 point favorites. They're in a spot where they're going to be able to run the ball. They may not need to pass the ball. And, the Bills' target distribution is really confusing this season, where there are several players over 12%, but there's no one player above 20%. And, Keon Coleman does lead things when it comes to an 18.5% target share. He does lead the team, but there's also other players at, again, 16, 15, 12, 13, bringing it down. So it's just too confusing. I don't expect Coleman to get there. He could certainly go over his yards, but I don't expect him to go over his receptions. So Keon Coleman under 3.5 receptions. Next up, let's turn to Chuba Hubbard under 55.5 rushing yards. The Pats have been sneaky good against the rush this season. They're allowing 60 rushing yards per game, which is the second best, fifth best when it comes to EPA per rush allowed. And this is a really, really difficult spot on the road for Hubbard, who's also averaging under 4 yards per attempt this season. I just don't see him breaking off big explosive plays when we're seeing long runs of 7, 8, and 14 through these 3 games. Yes, they have 17, 18 carries to get to 55 or 56 comfortably. I just don't see that happening. And then finally, Amari Hampton, over 16.5 rushing attempts for the Chargers. He is going to see 90+% of the running back touches for the Chargers. Najee Harris is done for the season with the Achilles injury. Hassan Haskins, Kamani Vidal are not threats to him in the backfield. The Giants, they've allowed the second most rushing yards per game. Giants have the third worst EPA per rush allowed. Hampton should be a featured role in the rushing game if they're going to be, Joe, if they're going to be covering the 6.5 point spread. Hampton should have plenty of work in the backfield.
Oh, absolutely, especially on the road when you think about it. What travels well, running the football and keeping an offense on the sidelines. And Jim Harbaugh showed that in the road win over Las Vegas, right? They grinded out a lower scoring game and they were able to get out of there. And again, Amari and Hampton, from a size perspective, he goes about 235 pounds. He's a rookie, very physical runner as well. And even though the Giants have been, I want to say, a little bit better in run support than their secondary right now, we'll see if they could shut him down. That's how you loosen up a secondary, pounding the rock with Amari and Hampton.
Yeah, I think the Giants' pass rush with that front seven, with some of the talent they have on the end, is very, very solid. But when it's all said and done, if they're not going to be in a spot to pin their ears back and get after the quarterback because they are playing from behind by 7, 10 points, whatever it might be, the Chargers are just going to run the ball. And they're going to know, with a veteran head coach, we're coming west to east. It's a 1 p.m. start. Let's get in and out of here with a win.
Yeah,
and it's that simple for the Chargers.
That's what you want to do. You want to. Jim Harbaugh could care less about stats. He wants to get to 4-0. What is the quickest, best way to get you there on the road against the Giants are a bend but don't break unit. They contain the Chiefs to 16 points in that matchup.
Right.
Force some turnovers potentially against Patrick Mahomes. You don't want to fall into that trap and give a benefit to the home team, especially with a rookie quarterback.
Right. And week 5, just to note, the Chargers, they're back at home and they're playing Washington, who could conceivably have Daniels back at that time after a couple of weeks rest. And that game, certainly, not saying that this game isn't important, but certainly going to 4-0, knowing that, okay, if you end up at 4-1 after 5 weeks, you're still in a pretty good spot. So that is our Sunday morning crunch, the 3 props that Joe and I both like for this week. Some main players that are in good spots, but maybe not be seeing a whole ton of volume, specifically for me when it comes to Keon Coleman. The game script's just going to get way out of control, and I don't think the Bills are going to need to play any of their starters in the fourth quarter if they're 15-point favorites against the Saints. We have plenty more coming up. The first 2 hours are down. 1 more hour to go. 2 guests coming up in this hour. We'll finish things off with our best bets. Everything else, news and notes around the league. We will recap what happens in this Steelers-Vikings game. And then before you know it, it's 1 p.m. and we have kickoff of that. 4 p.m. slate, and then Sunday night football to round things out, including 2 Monday night games. Stay tuned right here on SportsGrid.